ईदृक् गृहं तत् पश्यति ईदृग्गृहं तत् पश्यति न अतिप्रीतेन चेतसा नातिप्रीतेन चेतसा सर्वभूत आशय अभिज्ञः सर्वभूताशयाभिज्ञा प्रावोचत् कर्दमः स्वयं प्रावोचत् कर्दमः स्वयं ईदृग्गृहं तत्पश्यति नातिप्रीतेन चेतसा सर्वभूताशयाभिज्ञा प्रावोचत् कर्दमः स्वयं तत्पश्यति प्रीतेन चेतसा ईदृक् such गृहं house tat that pashyati looking at na atipritena not much pleased chetasa with a heart sarvabhuta of everyone ashaya abhijnaha understanding the heart pravochat he addressed kardamaha kardama swayam personally. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swamy Prabhupada. Translation. When he saw Devahuti looking at the gigantic opulent palace with a displeased heart, Kardama Muni could understand her feelings because he could study the heart of anyone. Thus he personally addressed his wife as follows. Please repeat. When he saw Devahuti looking at the gigantic opulent palace with a displeased heart, Kardama Muni could understand her feelings because he could study the heart of anyone. Thus he personally addressed his wife as follows. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Devahuti had spent a long time in the hermitage, not taking much care of her body. She was covered with dirt and her clothing was not very nice. Kardama Muni was surprised that he could produce such a palace, and similarly his wife Devahuti was also astonished. How could she live in that opulent palace? Kardama Muni could understand her astonishment, and thus he spoke as follows. The Sanskrit Bhaktivedanta Parpoto Majnanatimirandhasya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Avom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Prachadine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrunda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Actually, we'll take up more shlokas, but we'll go shloka by shloka. So here we have seen in the past few verses, Kardama Muni, by his mystic power, he creates a gigantic and opulent palace. After creating, even Kardama Muni becomes surprised. Vismapanam Ivatmanaha. He became surprised that his mystic power could produce such an opulent palace. And then not only he, even Devahuti was astonished to see such a palace. Idrugruham tat pashyatim. By seeing that gruha, the palace that Kardama has produced, na atipritena chetasa. She was displeased at heart. Generally, we think opulence will please everybody, but here Devahuti was astonished. And Sarva Bhutashaya Bhijna, Kardama Muni could study the heart of anyone. So, Pravochat Kardama Swayam. Personally, Kardama Muni is addressing his wife. Probably, this is the instance in the maybe human history that for the sake of producing a child, progeny, such an opulent arrangement is being done. In the entire world, everybody is making arrangements for enjoyment, but I don't think anybody can compare with the opulent palace. Idrugruham tat pashyatim. So this is the opulence of the Lord and his devotees. Devotee per se is neither interested in material enjoyment nor is interested in hating material enjoyment. Renunciation of the material enjoyment is not interested in these two. The conditioned soul constantly fluctuates between these two ends. On one end, the conditioned soul will be geared up for enjoyment, tries to make all kinds of opulent arrangements for enhancing the enjoyment, and when they are a little frustrated, then they go to the other extreme of renunciation. Prabhupada says that this is a famous Tyaga and Bhoga cycle. Everybody goes through this cycle. A devotee is not interested in this cycle. If he is put into an opulent position by the Lord, he will go through it. If he has to be living in a big palace, he is happy. Or if he is put into a poverty-stricken condition, that time also he is happy. He is interested in pleasing the Supreme Lord. And whatever arrangements the Supreme Lord makes for himself, he is satisfied. A devotee doesn't pray for any facilities and arrangements for his own self, but he is satisfied with whatever is being arranged by the will of the Supreme Lord. This is the mood of devotee. He is not artificially interested in either enjoying or renouncing this world. He goes by the interest of the Supreme Lord. If the Lord wants him to have an opulent palace and an opulent enjoyment, he goes through it. Or if the Lord keeps him in a poverty-stricken condition, he accepts that. In both the cases, he accepts that as a mercy of the Supreme Lord, and then without going through this cycle of Tyaga Bhoga, he does his services to Krishna. So here, the Lord is supposed to appear as a son of Devahuti, Devahuti Putra. And for that, the parents have done great austerities And now the arrangement is being made in order to produce the progeny. So these descriptions appears to be like mundane descriptions. And the question is, why should a brahmachari or a Krishna conscious person should be interested in such descriptions? Because they are all connected to opulence and enjoyment. Why should we be interested? Actually, devotee's interest is to see relation with Krishna. This is his interest. He always tries to see connection with Krishna and Krishna's service. That's all. Ordinary person, he sees his own interest and his own enjoyment in all these arrangements. And these descriptions can invoke lusty desires. But as devotee becomes more advanced in Krishna consciousness, he tries to see what is the will of the Lord and how it is connected to Krishna's service. That sambandhe, Krishna sambandha, nirbandhe Krishna sambandhe, he sees that sambandha. As soon as a devotee sees Krishna sambandha, then he is freed from illusion. Why we become lusty and fall under illusion? Because we don't see Krishna sambandha, the connection with Krishna. As soon as we don't see something is not connected to Krishna, immediately in the mind there will be feelings of either enjoyment or renunciation. Nobody can escape from these feelings. Moment we are feeling lusty about anything, that means we are not seeing that object in relation to Krishna, in relation to Krishna's service. Immediately we become lusty, because the mind's nature is to always calculate with respect to its own enjoyment. So here he could understand Devahuti's mind, Kardama Muni, and immediately is addressing her, Nimajyasmin hrade bhiru vimanam idam aruha idam shukakrutam tirtham ashisham yapakam nunam. So he is saying, my dear Devahuti, you look very much afraid. First bathe in lake Bindu Sarovara, created by Lord Vishnu himself, which can grant all the desires of a human being, and then mount this airplane. So Kardama is advising her to take a bath in the Bindu Sarovara lake. In the beginning we have seen it is created by Lord Vishnu. When Lord Vishnu, he saw the austerities of Kardama, he becomes so overwhelmed in ecstasy by seeing Kardama. Jai Radha Govinda. There are tears in the eyes of Vishnu, and with those tears the Bindu Sarovara lake was created. And so it's very auspicious. The lake can come from his lotus feet or from his lotus eyes. Doesn't matter. It is Vishnu's connection is there. And so it is very auspicious. And Prabhupada is mentioning in the purport that it is Tirtham Ashisham Yapakam. That means desires are fulfilled if one takes a bath in a place of pilgrimage. That's why in Hindu custom, whoever goes to the pilgrimage place, they certainly take a bath. In Vrindavan, they take bath in Yamuna, and in Prayag, they take bath in the Ganges, in the confluence. So that's the the ritual. That's the rule. Of course, also one has to seek the association of a Vaishnava when he goes to a pilgrimage place. That part nobody does. They just take the bath and be happy. Here one important point is that Tirtham Ashisham Yapakam. In the Prayag now, there is Maha Kumbh Mela is coming up. It comes in once in 12 years. It's coming up in the next, in the January, February, we see. That is called Maha Kumbh. So on a very grand scale, the government is planning some arrangements because millions of people come there to take bath in those auspicious days. So people interested in liberation, so they come there to take bath since they know that they are conducive for moksha. And then he is explaining the Devahuti's response. Satat bhartuhu samadhaya vachaha kuvalekshana sarajam bibbarati vaso veni bhutamscha murdajam. The lotus-eyed Devahuti accepted the order of her husband. Because of her dirty dress, and the locks of matted hair on her head, she did not look very attractive. Because Devahuti was absorbed in serving serving her great husband in his Krishna conscious practices. And so she neglected her body, and so the dress became very dirty and hair became matted and all that. Angam cha mala parikrena sanchanam sabalasthanam avivesha saraswatya sara shivajalashayam. Translation: her body was coated with a thick layer of dirt and her breasts were discolored. She dove, however, into the lake which contained the sacred waters of Saraswati. So she, her body also full of dirt, and here, by following the order of husband, she dove into the lake which contained the sacred rivers of Saraswati. So now, Shantas Sarasi Veshmasta Shatani Dasha Kanyaka Sarva Kishorayavasho Vayasho Dadarshotpala Gandaya. In a house inside the lake, so when she dove into the lake, there is a big house there also. She saw 1,000 girls, all in the prime of youth, and fragrant like lotuses. Sarva Kishora Vayasa, they are all very young. And Utpala, Dadarsha Utpala Gandaya, they are looking like, they are fragrant like lotuses. So this is the arrangement that Kardama has made by his yogic power. She enters the lake to take bath and to clean herself and all that. And so there was a house created inside, and there are some 1,000 young ladies, girls, they're waiting, they're present. She saw them. So you can see here, Kardama is capable of producing most beautiful girls in the world. But he is not interested in that kind of a sense gratification. He is interested in following the order of the Supreme Lord in order to, make these arrangements, and so that he can bring an incarnation, Kapila, into this world. Arrangement should be done to bring such top-class progeny who can actually transform the course of the world. Then tam društva sahasottaya prochu pranjalaya shriya vayam karmakari stubhyam sadina karavatmakim. Seeing her, the damsels suddenly rose and said with folded hands, "We are your maidservants. Tell us what we can do for you." They all know Devahuti. As soon as they saw her, immediately they stood up, and then they said, "We are your maidservants, we are your dasi, please tell us." Here the word that is used is karmakari. We are your maidservants, we are ready to serve you, what can we do? So, um, so Kardama made all these arrangements. Then snanena tam maharhena snapayatva manasvinim dukule nirmale nutne dadur asaicha manadha. The girls, being very respectful to Devahuti, brought her forth, and after bathing her with valuable oils and ointments, they have her fine, new, spotless cloth to cover her body. After all, she has her hairs have become dirty, even the body is dirty, so there are enough people available to clean her up, and then they gave her spotless cloth. Many times people ask, why do you do abhishekam to their lordships, and that too in front of everybody? That is called opulence. You see, Devahuti, for her bath, 1,000 people are there. We are only 4 or 5 people on the stage. And where is Radharani and where is Krishna? And their abhisheka should be seen by millions. That is the enjoyment. I have seen the aristocratic families, they don't take bath themselves. There will be many maid servants and people, they do the bathing. This is opulence. So Krishna is the Supreme Lord, and Krishna's arrangement for his family life, nobody can compete. 16,108 palaces and the maid servants. So those will be the arrangements of the Lord. So here they gave her spotless dress. Then Bhushanani Paradhyani Varyamsi Dhyumanticha Annam Sarvagunopetam Panam Chaivamruta Tasavam. They then decorated her with very excellent and valuable jewels which shone brightly. Next, they offered her food containing all good qualities and a sweet inebriating drink called asavam. So, after giving her dress, they gave her ornaments and jewels. Then they gave her good food, good qualities. Then they also gave one drink called asavam. Prabhupada is saying asavam is an Ayurvedic medical preparation. It is not a liquor. It is made from drugs, and it is meant to improve metabolism for the healthy condition of the body. Even today also, even till date, we see this culture. In Ayurvedic culture, there are that is actually to revive the metabolism. So that's what Prabhupada is clarifying here. Atadarshe samatmanam shvagvinam virajambaram virajam kruta swasti ayanam kanyabir bahumanitam. Then in a mirror she beheld her own reflection. Her body was completely freed from all dirt, and she was adorned with a garland, dressed in unsullied robes and decorated with auspicious marks of tilaks. She was served very respectfully by the maids. So she looked into the mirror to see what the maid servants have done. They cleaned up nicely, decorated her. She got a garland and auspicious marks. Snatam krutashnirasnanam sarvabharana bhushitam Nishka grivam vaya valayanam kujat kanchana nupuram. Her entire body, including her head, was completely bathed, and she was decorated all over with ornaments. She wore a special necklace with a locket. There were bangles on her wrists and tinkling anklets of gold about her ankles. A very detailed description of the services rendered by the maid servants, and here it is mentioned Krita Shira Snanam, and that means head bath. So Prabhupada is quoting from Smriti Shastra to explain that generally women take bath up to the neck only, and they don't take bath every day on the head because it can cause cold also. The hairs becomes wet. He mentions that it can create cold, and also there are some Smriti Shastras. They also consider health conditions too. After all, when somebody is dealing with the body, the health also has to be kept in mind. So they generally do up to the neck, and that is called malasnana. Then if they take on the head also, then it's called shira snana. These are the injunctions from Smriti Shastra. You can see as simple as snana, there are injunctions from the Shastra, Smriti Shastra. So, wanting to follow Shastra Vidhi is actually surrender to Krishna. Surrenderance to Krishna means following his orders, either from Shruti or Smriti. This is the Shastra Vidhi. Actual surrender means in the day-to-day life, one should abide by the instructions of the spiritual master and Krishna. Shunyo adyastaya kanchya kanchanya bahuratnaya harena cha maharhena ruchakena cha bhushitam. About her hips she wore a girdle of gold set with numerous jewels, and she was further adorned with a precious pearl necklace and auspicious substances. You can see innumerable verses are allocated in the transcendental Srimad Bhagavatam to describe the decorations on the body of Devahuti. She is not an ordinary girl or ordinary woman. She is Jaganmata, mother of incarnation of Krishna. So that is the mood here. And then Sudatha Subruva Slakshna Snigdha Pangena Chakshusha Padmakosha Sprudha Nilai Alakaischa Lasan Mukham. Her countenance shone with beautiful teeth and charming eyebrows. Her eyes, distinguished by lovely moist corners, defeated the beauty of lotus buds. Her face was surrounded by dark curling tresses. So, Prabhupada is saying in the Vedic literature, white teeth are very much appreciated. so we have to, that's why every day morning we have to ensure that the teeth are brushed nicely, and then night also before sleeping one has to wash his teeth nicely. Brush means nowadays, because of the plastic brushes, one has to be careful. If you become too much enthusiastic and go on doing that brushing, you will lose your teeth and gums very quickly. Forget about the whiteness. So you have to be a little careful with these artificial brushes. Previously they used to use neem twigs to brush the teeth like that. In the villages they do still, but nowadays neem trees are not available, so the twigs are also not available. That's the scenario nowadays. Actually, if you have say a Goshala, and then there is a Panchagavya kind of a tooth powder like we have in our Goshala, this thing, they are the best things. They clean the teeth nicely, and they enhance the health. So then yada sasmara rushabham rushinam dayatam patim tatra chaste sahasribi yatraste sa prajapati. When she thought of her great husband, the best of the sages, Kardama Muni, who was very dear to her, she, along with all the maid servants, at once appeared there where he was. Till now they are inside the lake, in the house, all the 1,000 maid servants and Devahuti. She thought of her husband and immediately they are all in front of the husband. Again, this is a yogic power. But to Purastad Atmanam Stri Sahasra Vrutam Tada Nishamya Tad Yoga Gatim Samshayam Pratyapadyata. She was amazed to find herself surrounded by 1,000 maids in the presence of her husband and to witness his yogic power. She could understand that everything is happening by the yogic powers of her husband, and so she understood that nothing was impossible for him, and so that kind of a respect for the husband and his factual glories is good for the woman, and we will see in the next shlokas how the the Kardama Muni's response to Devahuti's this sacred bath and the further cleansing of the body and then ornamentation. Any questions? Stop here. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.